KFS. But we owe a great debt to the Andrew Mellon Foundation, who should be mentioned here. Without their support, their endorsement, first with a planning grant and then with a major grant to KFS, and then other major grants to other quality systems, we wouldn't be at all where we are today. So we got our Mellon grant in 2005. We had a release 1 came out in 2006, another release 2 in 2007, and our final release, the code has already been released to the implementing schools, but the public release will be later this year, release 3, and that will complete the original vision for KFS. Beyond that, there will of course be enhancements and updates, and implementing schools will contribute back ideas and code and to be vetted and reviewed and added to future releases. But this has been an effort that's finally coming to an end. We didn't start with a blank piece of paper to develop a system where we'd probably still be talking. We had available to us, fortunately, the Indiana University-based system known as FIS. It had been in operation for 12 years. Some of their campuses are very small, maybe comparable almost to a community college, and they have a large, of course, flagship research university. All of the campuses were processing over $2 billion in annual expenditures. It had been heavily audited since 1994. Each year, we knew it had functional integrity. It had a very modular design. There are modules that you can plug in or not plug in, depending on whether you wish to use them. It had a very flexible chart of accounts that would fit public, private, large, and small. But it was in an obsolete language and technology environment. So they wished to port this into a better technology environment, the world of the web, and we wished to start out with proven functionality. So that was our base. Now we couldn't use it, of course, as is. First we did a rigorous review of each module with webinar presentations, somewhat like this one, where specialists at each institution on that previous slide would critique the module. So when we did accounts payable, the IU people would demonstrate the accounts payable module, and all the other institutions would critique it and talk about what enhancements and modifications were needed. First of all, we had to remove any code that was IU specific. We had to make it table-driven. We had to make it more flexible so that we could adapt it to a variety of higher education institutions. And we agreed on priorities for doing this. So the development went as follows, starting with that base system with proven functionality. We had subject matter experts, we call them SMEs, and business analysts on each campus of the development partners, coming up with functional specifications and enhancement requests. Then there's the functional council, which are some of the top finance people at each development institution. We would vote on priorities and enhancement requests. And of course there were competing needs there among the very small and very large, and we worked that out. And then this would be passed on to the development manager and the developers for coding and technical documentation. Then it would go to the quality assurance manager for testing. We have testing coordinators and testers on every campus. And we looked for what we called real users, not power users, but people out in the field, out in the academic departments who would be doing a requisition, for example. How easy was this to use, and did we get the results that we wished? And after going through the testing, then it went to a documentation team for documentation and preparing the online help, and then to a configuration manager for packaging and release. So of the 3 releases, 2 have been completely through this, And the third and final release is in the next to the last box of this process. The technology environment, and this is really about all I know about technology because I'm a functional person, but it's Java 2 Enterprise Edition, XML for the workflow, modular architecture, standard connections to other systems. It's all standards-based. Our agreement with the Mellon Foundation, the condition of the grant was there would be no required proprietary technology for the long term. And we'll talk in just a minute about RICE, which is the technology environment for Kuali. Now, this has been peer-reviewed by thought leaders in higher education in the technology area who say that we have made the right choices, and this represents current thinking. In fact, some universities have already committed to implementing RICE, which is what we call the technology, without any further commitment to a quality system. That's because they believe this is the latest thinking in technology, and they want to prepare their university for this. So one part of RICE is the Kuali nervous system, which provides reusable code, shared services, and strategy for development. The document and workflow integration, the data dictionary, the ability to do lookups, inquiries, and rules. This is all part of the common RICE infrastructure, so that no matter what Kuali system you're using, whether it's KFS or the student system or the pre-award COIA system, everything will interact seamlessly and use the same common files in many cases. And Kuali Enterprise Workflow is also a freestanding system. It's already been implemented at a few universities for legacy needs, and it alone has sold a couple on going ahead with the full KFS implementation. So it's a general purpose electronic routing infrastructure, or workflow engine. You can have individual approvers in the chain. You can set up work groups so that a transaction, say for foreign money transfer, would go to a treasurer's work group. It could be more than one person. Whoever picks the transaction up first is then removed from the boxes of the others. You can have specific routing for each different electronic document. You can also add one-time ad hoc approvers, or you can also simply send FYI copies or copies that require acknowledgement but not approval. It's very flexible. And there's an action list so that when you come to work, you open your action inbox and you can see what documents are awaiting your approval. In our first release, we have what we call the core. We think everyone who implements KFS will want or need to have the release 1 items, chart of accounts, which is really the heart of this from a functional standpoint, the general ledger, financial transactions, online balance inquiries, and the workflow and standard reports. Then going beyond that are other modules that you can use or not use. Labor distribution is the link between HR and finance. It takes detailed data from each payroll, each pay period, summarizes it in the right format to enter the financial system. You might say, well, I have an HR system that can do that. And if so, that's fine. Contracts and grants really are part of Release 1 also. We just added a few additional things that are needed in Release 2. Purchasing and accounts payable, so far everyone has said they want to use, but of course if you had your own legacy system, you could use that. Our final release